first of all, as you can see on the right hand side of the screen, you can see my face there, and you can see that it is tracking my head movement and some of my facial movements. However, this is a 2D puppet, so unlike 3D where it maps your face specifically, this is a combination of motion capture and also using triggers to fire pre-built animations, and I'll show you what I mean. Right, so first of all, like you can see, if we look at Popcorn, I'm moving around and that is moving Popcorn around. And this character does have some parallax. So if I move my face left and right, you can see that Popcorn is also moving his face left and right. Right, now, in case it doesn't show up automatically, you should have a panel that says Control. If you can't see Control, because sometimes it doesn't come up automatically, all you need to do is go to Windows and make sure you got Control ticked on. Now, I personally, I've got 2 monitors, and I like to have Control popped out and put on my second monitor so that it can fill the whole screen. However, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to just keep it down here. And here are all the triggers to make this character to do lots of different things. So let's have a look. Give him a pair of sunglasses. Give him some icon emojis. And this character is a popcorn character, so I've got him eating his popcorn. So if you press that one, he grabs the popcorn from one side of his head, and you press the other one, he grabs it from the other side of the head. Now, if you look here, you can see that there's letters assigned to this. And what that means is, if I press that letter on the keyboard, it's going to trigger that action. So if I press D on the keyboard, it's that one. If I press A, it's that one. And the letter in between, S, I've added it to open the mouth. And the reason I got him opening the mouth like that is that I'll press D, then S, I'll press A, then S, and it looks like he's thrown that popcorn straight into his mouth. Just a little thing I thought I'd show you. Right, now, all these purple icons, they trigger the eyebrows and the eyelids. When your character is doing a lot of talking, this is where a lot of the emotion is going to come across. And obviously you want your character to emote. You know, if he's talking about something that he's very angry about, you want him to have an angry expression, and the same for sad and happy topics. So, the first couple of ones are blinks. That's just a general blink. Though you will notice if I blink, the character will blink. We've got some alternative blinks just to mix things up a little bit. And here we've got unsure. We got a smiley face, a happier face, an angry expression, sad, surprise, and eek. Sometimes when you press these for the very first time, they do look like they run a bit slow, but don't worry about it. They quickly speed up, and also whatever you record, it'll come out at the frame rate you choose. Again, you can see there are letters assigned to these. So if I was to press Z on my keyboard, we've got the happy face, and then I'm pressing X, and that's the happy face. And then as I move along them line of letters, we've got all of these. Now this is important if you decide to do a live stream. Now the thing with this character, you can either record, like in a bit I'll show you how we press record, and I can sit down and I can talk and it will automatically lip sync, and as I'm talking I can be firing the expression. Now I used to do a show for a radio station here in the UK, and every week I had to make 15 minutes of animation. They would send me the audio file and then I would have to animate it. 15 minutes of animation is quite a lot of work, and in the past it would have taken a team of people weeks to do, but I had one day to do it by myself. And the way I used to do that is that I used to bring in the audio, I'd listen to it, press record, and then as the audio was playing, I would, you know, give the character his movement, and then as it was going along, if the character was laughing about something, I'd be pressing Z for the happy face. If he was questioning something, you know, like unsure about something, I'll be hitting this expression. And then if he was mad about something, I'll be hitting this expression. It's almost like playing a musical instrument. It doesn't take very long for you to remember what key on the keyboard does what. And so this is one of the very quick ways that you can make an animation. You can either bring in pre-recorded audio and then just adding the movements and adding the expressions to it, or we can hit the little microphone icon over here and we can record in real time. So I'll get into that in a second. I'll just show you a few more things first. Right, so this line of purple icons, they control the eyebrows and the eyelids. However, these icons here, there's a lot more expressions, and they're not just only eyes and eyebrows, but it's also the mouth as well. So we've got, for example, a very shocked face, got kind of evil face, we've got a more cutie face, we got him in love, confused, questioning, crying, smug. You'll see there's a lot of expressions, and later on when I get into the timeline animation, I'll also show you how you can mix and match all the different mouths and all the different eyes to make even more expression. Because the thing with these, you can mix and match them, and you can probably got like hundreds of different combinations that you can put together to make lots of different expressions. These are just a few of the ones that I think you're most likely going to use, but you can make more. So as we move down the control panel, you can see that you can control each of the mouths individually, and the eyelids and the eyebrows, but we don't need to worry about that at the moment. But there are some other things as well. We've got the different eyes, and then we've got the different arm movements. So these are the icons for these triggers. So we got like woohoo, and we got him gesturing to the left, or what, that's the character's left or our right. Both arms out, both arms up. So we've got a whole variety of movements here, because when a character is talking, you know, you don't just emote with your face, but you do a lot of gesturing with your arms. So it's always nice to throw these in. And to make this a little bit easier, again, on the keyboard you'll see that there's a bunch of numbers. So if you use your number pad to the side, you can literally just be pressing, you know, just triggering different expressions as you go along. And again, when I was working on that show, that is something I used to do. I'd have the character, you know, like just doing some gestures. And most of the time, the only gestures you need are like high, wide, low. And just, you know, throwing out a couple of these and a few woohoo and whatever. That's all that is needed. And as is a popcorn character, I've also added in a few different popcorns popping out. Now, one of the ideas for Popcorn is that he could be reviewing films. So maybe at the end, his way of reviewing is how many popcorns does he give a movie out of 5? Does he give it 1 popcorn? Does he give it 2 popcorns? 3? 4? Or 5? Or maybe he gives it all the popcorn because he thinks it's amazing. Anyway, that's just one suggestion. You might be a whiz at video editing and might want to drop in all your own graphics over the top of this. That is up to you, but these are some options. Now the reason I actually made these is that when I've got the character moving around, I thought it'd be nice to throw in some, you know, popcorn tipping out as he's moving about, and that's something that you can layer in later on, and I will show you how to do that. And then last of all, these are all the different hand shapes. These arms have draggers on them, so even though I've made you pre-made arm motions, you can make your own. So you drag the hands wherever you want them to be, and then pick whatever hand shape you want, and like I say, put it in. But again, I'm going to come to this later and demonstrate how you can record and produce your own arm movements. So that's the introduction to how the general character works. Let's get into how to make animation with Popcorn. There are 2 primary ways that you can do this, and I've already alluded to one, and that is just do it in real time. Actually, there's 3 ways, because you can record and create content in real time, or you can stream live and just perform this character in real time on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, even on TikTok now you can go live. So you might just want to do that, and you'll be using all these triggers, and you'll either use the keys on your keyboard, or like what we have, if you've got a touchscreen monitor, you can pull this control panel out. Let me just get it. And on your second monitor, you can have it fill the whole screen, and then you can literally just tap, whatever emotion you want. So that's a good way of performing it live, and that is something we have done. But for making content to tinker around with, to perfect and upload to YouTube, there's two ways to do it. First of all, you press record, turn on your lip sync, and let's just test it out. So I'm going to press record. Testing at a 1, 2, 3. My name is Popcorn, and I am a toon tuber, and I would like to do reviews on lots of movies. And what I should be doing while I'm saying this is, look, I am a very, very happy Popcorn, and I've just seen a movie that is really sad, but I also didn't like the ending, which made me really mad. Right, and then you press stop, and you've got a recording right here. So let's have a look. So let's have a look at what we did, and let's have a listen to it. Testing at a 1, 2, 3. My name is Popcorn, and I am a toon tuber, and I would like to do reviews on lots of movies. And what I should be doing while I'm saying this is, look, I am a very, very happy. Right, so a couple of things there. Now you've got your animation, you might want to clean it up. As you'll notice, halfway through that video, I remembered that I should have been adding expressions, and I didn't do it straight away. Now, you got two choices what you can do here. We can either go back and record over it, and well, we won't record over it, we'll just add to it, and it's called layering. Now we can either layer in the timeline, which is the way I like to do it because it gives you more precision, or we can layer using the live record. Now, let's just say I'm very happy with how he was moving. I don't want to re-record the head movement. So on the right hand side of the screen here, all these red dots represent what is being recorded when you press that button. So what I would say first is hold your finger down on control on your keyboard and then press one of them dots, and it will turn everything off. What that means is that now we can pick what we want to record. Now, in this instance, I just said I want to add more expressions. So I'm going to activate the trigger icon, and that means I can press all these buttons on my keyboard and it's going to trigger those actions. Or I can press these on the controls here. So I'm just going to pop that there. So like I say, you can either use the pre-assigned keys on the keyboard, or you can use the icon trigger buttons. Now the thing is, there's only so many keys on the keyboard, so I would recommend you just assign the ones that you use the most. But you might want to also use, one of these very many other things. So what you do is we go back to the start and we press record. And I'm going to hold my finger down on small because he's introducing himself and he should be quite happy. I am a toon tuber, and I would like. If I press stop and we go back and we press play, you can now see that those are being added. And it's pretty simple, really. That's all you have to do. You just layer it in, tweak it and for example, let's say at one point I wanted to get in more movement. I didn't think he was animated enough. Maybe he was a bit still. All you do there, let's say it was this point. So see there when he says he got a bit sad. Maybe I want him to droop down a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is, again, I'm going to hold my finger down on control and turn everything back on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put myself in a downward pose, and I'm going to press record. And maybe it's really sad, but I also shake my head a little bit because he's sad. So now we zoom in on the timeline and we find the camera input, and we don't want it to just suddenly snap into the new movement because it'll be too jarring. We want it to blend into the new take. So at each side here you can see a little square, and you can pull that across and it will blend in the action. Now what I did do then, however, is I forgot to turn off the microphone, so it has recorded over my audio. So what I want to do is select that audio and delete it, but you see it is selecting everything else that I've just recorded. So if we go up to timeline and just unclick link recording selection, that can be handy to have, but in this instance I want to delete one isolated thing. So now I've got that turned off, I pick the audio that I don't want and I'm going to delete that. And it's probably created new visamins as well, so I'm going to delete that, but I'm going to leave everything else on. All of this represents the motion capture because all of these different layers are moving around different things. The one at the top is moving around the body, and the one at the bottom is all the face of thing. You don't really need to worry about that. As long as you got everything turned on, it's fine. Right, and then if we press play, we should see him slowly morph into the new take. So I've just seen a movie that is really sad, but I also didn't like the ending, which made me really mad. So yeah, it's as simple as that. You can just keep on going back. If you want to add in new actions, just recording the new action. If you want to add in new triggers, recording the new triggers. However, you can get even more detailed. Now, for example, let's say you're not happy with reviews on lots of the lip syncing. Perhaps you think there should be an open mouth, and instead he's got a closed mouth. All you do is you go down into the timeline. Also, you can zoom in with this little slider here. And let's say we want this S to be an A. I am going to right click on it, and you just pick what you want to change it to. Or you think perhaps, let's say you had a dog barking or something and it's triggered the lip sync off. You don't want that to be there, so you can right click and you can silence it to take it out altogether. Now this bar is a swapset bar, and if you go down in the timeline you will see swapsets bar for the eyebrows, the eyelids, and all the other triggers. Now what this means is, as I said, there's two ways to layer in actions. You can record and just keep going back and forth and recording and pressing the buttons either on the console or on your keyboard. But the way I like to do it is I like to sit down, I mocap record the general motion, and then I will go down on my timeline, zoom out a little bit, and I like to layer in all the things that I want him to be doing. So first of all, we've already got the expressions added, and you can see here is smile. I'm just going to delete that, and this is recorded over a few, so I'm just going to delete those. Right, so let's say for this section here I want my character to be smiling. I am going to, now you can either individually pick what eyebrows you want, what eyelids you want, or you can go for the whole expression, or yeah. So I want him to have a happy expression, so I'm going to right click here and I'm going to look through all these expressions I've got ready made, and I'm going to go smile, and then I'm going to select that and I'm going to drag that all along here, and I'm going to press play. Hold my finger down testing because he's introducing himself and he should be quite happy. I am a toon. Now the problem there is that full face expression has the smiley mouth on it, and that smiley mouth is overriding all of the visimins. So instead I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to pick arched eyebrows, move that there, and I'm going to pick smiley eyelids. If I press play now, I hold my finger down testing all because it's introducing back to talking, and it's got those expressions. Now it's good if you, like I said, you can mix and match all the different eyebrows and the eyelids to make lots of different expressions. However, you might not want to go through adding the eyebrows and the eyelids to everything. So instead, I'm going to delete those off, and I'm going to use the swap set for the brows and the eyelids, which is these purple ones here. And so I'm going to pick smile. I'm going to stretch this up a little bit so I can look on the timeline. I can see that first batch of text. I'm going to press play. I hold my finger down testing all because he's introducing himself, and he should be quite happy. I am a toon. I think at some point there I've accidentally deleted the motion capture thing, but don't worry about that at the moment. In fact, actually, it's a good point. If you ever do anything, the great thing about Adobe Character Animator is that it's continuously saving in real time. However, if you go to history, and I can look here, and it says delete trigger. I think that's where I accidentally deleted everything. So if I press that, and no, where did I delete it out? Hold my finger down. There you go. So anyway, as I was saying, the great thing about these swap sets is that you can just go along and drop in what you want. It's all set up so you can either just pick, you know, the eyelids or the eyebrows, all these different, like for example the popcorn I was showing you earlier. You can just drop that in like that, and then you just stretch it out for however long you want it to be actioned. Bring this down so we can see the screen a bit better. And if we press play now, we should see the popcorn shoot up. I hold my finger down testing all because he's introducing himself. You saw that one there, yep. And that is it really in regards to layering. You just it's as simple as that. It's not hard to make something. You just sit down, record it. Now the only thing I will say is that you might not want to perform the vocally in real time. You know, you might want to work out a script, pre-record it, and then bring that audio in. And then what you do there is you go to File, Import, find your audio file, and then here's one I made earlier. So this is popcorn dialogue. So what you do, you grab it, and I'm going to drag it in there. I'm going to delete the audio that I recorded earlier. I'm going to delete the visimins that were synced to that. Put my headphones on. Let's have a listen. Woohoo! Right, now cut the monster in half quick before he... That's Popcorn doing a review of Doctor Strange 2. You'll be able to see it on our TikTok and YouTube channel. Anyway, so I brought in this audio that I pre-made earlier. And then I'm going to select that, and I'm going to make sure that I've got Popcorn selected. You do have to keep your finger down on Control. So select the audio, Control, and select the Popcorn layer. Then we're going to go to Timeline, and we're going to go Compute Lip Sync from Scene Audio. And what that's going to do is automatically lip sync to the audio you've just brought in. There you go. You can see all the visimins. So if we have a look at him now, and press play. Right, now cut the monster in half quick before he... And there you go. And just like I said before, if there's anything that you don't think is correct, like for example this at here should run a little bit longer, so you can stretch it out or you can swap it out. Also, if you want to do something a bit more advanced, I've also, if you go down to the mouth expressions and right click, you'll see all the mouth shapes are in here. And if, for example, that last Visamin was an A, so I just need to find the A one. I'm going to delete that one there. Now, what this does is that with lip syncing, you're talking really fast. So these ones, they need to cut off as soon as your Visamin comes in. Otherwise, if it was waiting for the to open and close, by the time it's done that, it should have been doing a bunch more other Visamins and it'll look all wrong. So they animate into the mouth shape, but as soon as a new Visamin comes along, it cuts off the old one and it immediately plays a new one, and that's where you get this very fluid mouth thing. But at the end of a sentence, you might want to see the character close his mouth. So it's going instead of it just cutting straight to the default neutral mouth, we want it to animate into that position, and that's why you can add it in here. So if we go press play, quick before you see there his mouth closed. So you don't have to do this. Again, when I worked on that TV show, my partner that I worked with, he never did this. He never thought you could tell any difference. I was a bit more picky. I did like to add in all these little flourishes. So I'll go along, and at the end of each sentence, I'd add in the thing so you could see his mouth. And anywhere you saw like a letter on its own, I would just swap it out for one of those. Even more people. So yeah, that's just a little tip in regards to making a more advanced look. Right, so I've shown you how to record, I've shown you how to bring in audio, and I've shown you how to add expressions and add general motion capture movement to your character. There are some other things that you can add to spruce this up. One of the most important ones I find is camera actions. And you can do that in Adobe Character Animator, and I've set up a bunch of camera actions. So let me just remember where have I got them on the keyboard. I think, first of all, if you click up here, you can see your camera system, and if I go to replays and just press play, so the first one is just your default shot. But so you got basically each one of these shots are just, you know, different zoom ins. So a couple of things here. Either one, like I showed you before, we can add them in real time. So as you can see, I've assigned a bunch of keys. So on the keyboard, if you go, you got F, G, H, and each one is going more and more in. So what we could do is we could start at the beginning, press record, woohoo! And I could think for this section I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to hold my finger down on it, then I'm going to take my finger, press it again to come off, and then I want him to zoom in even more around now, and then take it off, and so forth. And just like before, it's all down here on the timeline, and you can lengthen it out or you can shorten it. Like for example, I might only want it to zoom in around this section. However, I might want to, at the moment it's doing a straight cut, so, but I might want it to blend in, you know, I might want that camera to zoom in. I might not want a hard cut. Sometimes a hard cut is very good, but sometimes you want a more dramatic zoom in. Right, to do that, you got to do a couple of things. First of all, if we go over to project, if you've got a new project, it automatically turns on this thing called Smart Replays. Now what that means is where I've made a I've bunched a load of layers together and turned them into a trigger, it turns them into this one folder, this one file here, which can keep it all cleaner looking on the timeline, but it takes away your ability to edit it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unclick that and make sure Smart Replays is turned off. Generally, it's better not to have them. So I'm going to history. I'm going to go back to before I recorded all this, and that's going to undo what I've just done. So again, I'm going to make sure that that Smart Replays is turned off, and let's try recording it again. I'm going to press record.
Who would ride
I'm
a
pressing
giant
the
monster
button on my keyboard, press it once to zoom in, and then press the same button again to zoom out. Right, I'm going to press stop, and this time you can see we've got a lot more layers, because you've got your X position, which is left and right, your Y position, up and down, zoom and rotation. I haven't actually got any rotation in this, but it's there. Now, like before, I can select all these and I can move it around. But what I can do now is that these little, just like with I showed you before when we was doing in the motion capture, I can grab the little square on either end and blend in. So now if we press play,
Dumbass. Good.
you got that nice little zoom in, and you can make that zoom in longer or slower.
Good. Now let's make some smart decisions.
Now the reason you might want it longer is because sometimes, I'm going to delete this one off. I'm going to select all of them and I'm going to drag that to the beginning. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to pull that flat, and then this from this side I'm going to... Now I don't want it to go, at the moment it's got like an ease in and ease out, so that means it slowly eases in and it speeds up and then it slowly eases into the end. But that won't look good over a long period of time, so I'm going to right click, and in my blends I'm going to select no easing. So it's just a straight linear, you know, start to finish. And the reason that you might want to do this is that instead of your video just feeling flat, you'll see now that the camera is very slowly zooming in. However, that doesn't mean that you can't add in more, you know, like more dramatic. So like for this section here, I want it to do a big old zoom in, so I'm going to press record, and then I'm going to do my big zoom in moment,
Teleport it away.
or just press stop. I'm just going to see this little icon here, I'm just going to pop that down. Now remember before where I turned off the link thing because I wanted to individually delete one layer? This is a case where instead of having to keep selecting all the layers that you want, if I've got this link turned on, when I hit the one, anything that was recording during that particular take will all be selected at the same time. So that's where it comes in handy. Right, so I'm going to select this, and again I'm going to blend it in, and that's now layered over the previous one. Press play, zooms in, zooms out, and then it resumes. It zooms in, zooms out, and then it resumes the previous layer. Also, in regards to your zooms, whilst you can, you know, do the zooming in and out in real time as you're live streaming by hitting them keys on the keyboard or layer them in here, you can also, if we, instead of having to keep on pressing record and whatnot, you can pick one of these replays. So if we press play here, it shows you exactly what each shot is. So let's say I want that one again. If I select it and then go over to edit and go to copy, and then let's say I want it to go here and go paste, it drops them all in for me. Now it only drops in one frame, so zoom in a bit and stretch it out. And that's the way I normally do it. I don't normally record it. I literally just copy and paste it in. And then we zoom out. And then another thing you could do is you select all them and you could go copy. Or in fact, you could just go duplicate. And then you might want it to zoom in again over here.
Good. Now let's make some smart. Can anything?
But you can see now that the layering technique, you can very quickly get a much more complicated looking cartoon. But it doesn't take very long. You just sit down, you do your general movement, you either record your audio in real time or you bring your audio in pre-recorded, and then you just start dropping in the expressions, you start dropping in the camera movements, and before you know it, you got a very, advanced looking cartoon. The only thing I haven't covered yet, but it's very similar to what I've just shown you with the camera, is the arm movements. Right, so the last thing really to show you is the arm movements. So, two different things. Number one, as you saw from earlier, I've already made some arm movements. So, as I've said before, two approaches. We can either live record. So, if we make sure that we've got popcorn selected, and like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to press Control and I'm going to turn everything off. And the only thing I'm going to keep on is the triggers. And then if I press the numbers on my keyboard where I've assigned them actions, and then press, so for this little section here, I want him to put his hands on his, kind of his face. So I'm going to press record, and this is number 5 on the keyboard.
Good. Now let's make some smart decisions.
And as you can see here, it's dropped in a whole bunch of the layers that make up that action. So you can make it longer or you can make it shorter. Let's make it longer. Press play.
Good. Now let's make some smart decisions, guys.
However, just like the camera zoom, you can simply pick the one that you want. So let's say that was called belly, so I suppose it's his face. So you select that, go edit, go copy, and then pick a new point to demonstrate it. Go edit, and we go paste. And then we make it however long we want it to be.
That was amazing.
Simple as that. So yeah, you either record in real time and you press the assign key on the keyboard, or you press, you'll see here a bunch of, so we've got what, number 8, woohoo. So here we're just going to have to make sure this is there. And so for this little section here, I'm going to make them go woohoo. So I'm going to press record.
Okay, all is forgiven.
And then press stop. You can see this was a bit more of a complicated setup.
Okay, all is.
Or like I said, you can just go edit, copy, paste, and drop it in a timeline that way. However, you can also make your own arm movement. Let's say, I don't know, he's reviewing a Rocky film or the new Creed 3, which is coming out. So I'm going to move this controls out of the way so we can see more of this. Actually, no, I'm going to move this control over here. You'll see why in a minute. Right, so here I want him to pull his fists up. Now the arms have got draggers, so I'm going to. What's happening here is that I turned everything off. So make sure you got dragger turned on, and we're going to need triggers turned on because we're going to change his hands. So I'm going to pull his arms up to here, and then I want him kind of fist, and he has got a bunch of hand shapes. So let's have a look. Yeah, I suppose you could have that one and then find for the other hand as well. There we go. Kind of like a boxing pose. And what we're going to do now is I could either press record and then hold it for however long I want it to be, or I could go to timeline and go record 2 frames. And if I zoom in, we see that we've got the hand triggers recorded, and that's the motion. So I'm going to stretch this out to where I want it, and then I'm going to blend it in so that the arms are going to animate into that position. And then let's just check. We want to make sure that these turn up straight away. Now, if I want to change those hands for any reason, like with the expressions, you just right click on it and you pick, like, I don't know, the bird is the middle finger. So let's say if I want him to have BH stand for backhand. So if we go backhand bird and backhand bird, you'll see, yeah, I want the other one. Turn around. There we go. But anyway, let's say that's what I want him to do. Then I make sure I select all the layers, and because I've got it on link recording, it's got everything selected from that point that I recorded it, and now that's in my timeline. But let's say that you want to use that same arm movement again and again and again. You don't have to keep on doing this. All you got to do is you got more selected, you press right click and you go create replay trigger. And now if you go down into the replay section, you'll see that it's called dragger trigger 2. So we're going to click on that and we're going to press enter. And we're going to call that, I don't know, rude gesture. Now, like before, you can literally just select it. Whoop. If this ever happens, just make sure you select popcorn again in timeline. Right, so you can just select it, you can go copy, and then you can paste it in the timeline. Just make sure when trigger ends, it's giving you 2 options. Either you can sustain it, and what that means is that for however long you hold your finger down on the trigger, it's going to hold the pose. So look, I'm keeping my finger on the trigger and it's keeping the hands in place. However, if we go let replay finish, it's going to only last for however long I saved it as. So if I press play now, it doesn't matter if I keep my finger on it, it's only going to last for this amount of time. So generally, we just have it on stop and sustain. If I want to turn that into a trigger, what I've got to do is that actually you'll see over in the trigger panel here, it's appeared. So let's rename that one to rude gesture. And then if we find the control panel, again I'm going to have to pull this over here so we can do it. I'm going to drag this and I'm going to pop it there. Now it doesn't have an icon, but if I click on it, again though, I never tend to use that. I just use the replays here and I'll just go copy and paste and I'll just drop them in the timeline. So that is how you can add movements to your timeline and how you can make movements for your timeline. Now there's lots of different things. I'm sure there'll be things that you want to do which I haven't mentioned because, you know, there's a lot of variety of what can be done. If there's anything that you come up against and you don't know how to do it, just drop me a message and I will be very happy to do a screen recording like this and say do this, this and this, and that's it, it's done. Right, so I think that kind of covers everything in regards to taking a character and making content with it. You know, you record your audio, add in your mocap, and then just layer in all your movements and your camera actions and your expressions, and you've got you got your animate. Now the only thing I suppose that a couple of other things I could show you is that, let's see, we got popcorn here on the chair. You might want to change some things about his position. So to do that, find transform in properties. And here you got scale and position. So I can make him bigger. I can make him smaller. And I can rotate him. And I can, your X and Y is basically X is left and right, and Y is up and down. However, I don't want any of them changes to hold, so I'm going to go to history and I'm going to put him back to how he was. So yeah, if you want to move him around in the scene, that's how you do it. If you want to change the scene, similar to audio, you go to import, you bring in whatever graphics you've got, and then you just drag it down into the timeline. Find some graphic. So I've got this scenery here. I'll go import, and then you just drag that down into the timeline. And just like which I was just showing you with the transform, if you want to resize it, you go to transform and you can whatever size you want it, and then reposition it with your X and Y, and then just turn off the one that you don't want, or delete it altogether, and that's it. You know, just the transform basically controls the size and the placement. Other things here like the physics and whatnot, that's all to do with character model building. You don't need to mess around with that. In fact, if you do, you might end up breaking the model. However, if you do break the model, if you feel like something's gone wrong with it, you can re-import it. So if you go into, so if we go to import, and let's just find popcorn CH. You might, in fact, I'm just gonna copy this. I'm gonna drop this into 4. So when you unzip your file, you're gonna see the purple one, which is the master file, which is all the scene and everything set up. But the white icon is just for the character on its own. So let's, for any reason that your character is not working, we can re-import the puppet file, and Character Animator is automatically renamed this as 5.1. And what you do is you select him there, and then you select your puppet in the timeline, and then we're going to right click here, and it says replace with selected puppet in the project panel. So as you see, I've got 5.1 selected, and then I'm going to press replace, and that is going to change the old puppet file with the updated puppet file. In fact, you might want to bring in the updated puppet file if I've added something new to the puppet, maybe it's new props or new expressions or something like that, and you want to swap out the old one. This is how you do it. So that is how you do that. Right, before I show you how to export, let's just make sure we go over some of other functions of an Adobe Character Animator file. Over on the left hand side of the screen, we've got the project file, and this is where you've got all your assets. So we've got your puppet file and anything you've imported, like your audio file, your scenery, and your scenes. So here at the bottom, you're going to see a template, and that template is template in Cinema. If you want to create a new scene, what you do, so let's say for example you didn't want the popcorn character in the scenery that I've got set up, you want to put him in something that you created yourself. Maybe you don't want the background at all, so that you can export it as an alpha and put popcorn in the middle of a movie. That was one of the ideas that we had. You know, you could have, I don't know, I just had him doing the expression for Rocky. So maybe we want him in the ring with Rocky. So when Rocky's fighting, he's in the background and he's pointing out all the plot holes in the movie. So to do that, you're just going to want to make sure you've got everything turned off. And I'll show you about how to do it in export in a second. But let's say you want to change the dimensions of the scene for whatever, because you're going to bring in your own background. All you got to do is select the popcorn character, and then you see this little icon over in the corner here, which is like a movie clipboard. You click on that, and it will put your character into a brand new scene. However, there is nothing else going on here. All them swap sets and everything that I've got set up in template, you're not going to see them. It's not a problem. I will show you what to do to get them up. Right, so all you want to do is press record and then just click through all of these different triggers. It doesn't matter what you hit, just hit it randomly, because anything that's in a swap set is going to bring up the swap set in the timeline. So I'm going to press record. So I'm going to press all these different things. So these are all the expressions. Make sure I hit the mouth, the eyelids, eyebrows, the eyes, the gesture, popcorn popping out, hand movements, and I'm going to press stop. I don't care what it looks like at this point. I just want to have all of these timelines. The only thing I don't want is I didn't turn off the motion capture. I don't want that. So this is where I'm going to go back to timeline and unlink the recording thing. So I can pick all these mocap layers and I can delete those off. I don't want them, and I don't want eye or body mocap either. In regards to the eye, when you create a new scene, if you look now, it is tracking my eye movements. I don't like this function at all, because I always think it's a bit wibbly wobbly. It never seems to look exactly where it wants, especially if you've got a character who's talking to the audience. So if you go to eye gaze, turn off camera input, and I generally either use the keyboard. So if you press left and right on the keyboard, up and down, that moves your eyes around. Or if you want more precise, I don't know, maybe there's a character here that you want him to be looking at, select the mouse and then just click where you want him to be looking. And again, if you want to record that into a scene, you can like just make sure you've got everything turned off. Only have the eye gaze selected. Press record. Have him looking where you want him to be looking. And then just like I showed you before, just blend it in and the eyes will move into shot. Everything kind of works in the same similar way, so it doesn't take long to figure it out. Anyway, why did I make you press all these buttons? Because we want to get all these swap sets up, but we don't want all these that we just hit. So I'm just going to, the best way to get them off is to select one. And you know, like how you can make something bigger or smaller? If you pull it right across, it deletes it. So if we grab one end and I'm going to drag that right across, it deletes everything in this path. So I'm deleting all of these. And you go through and you do that for everything. So you get off all the things that you've just triggered. And that just leaves you with the swap set bar. So, you know, as I showed you previously, the way that animating in Adobe Character Animator is so fast because you've got this layering technique where you can just drop in all the actions. So you want all these swap sets so that you can go along, right click, and then pick whatever expression or vismin you want to add into it. So, like I said, you create a new scene, you're not going to have your swap sets up. That's the quickest way to get your swap sets in. What else? Is there anything else that I should be telling you? Let's have a think. Yes, the size. So at the moment, I've got this kind of set up for mobile phones. So, you know, like if you look at TikTok or YouTube Shorts, a lot of them have got this kind of 16:1 ratio, like basically, you know, like 16:9 or whatever it is. It's the phone ratio. However, you might not want that. You might want a typical like 1920 by 1080 or whatever, or 1080 by 1920. So we're going to find the scene that you just created, going to click on it, and then over here on the right hand side of the screen we are going to size it to what we want. At the moment it's 1080 by 1920, but we want to turn that around, so we're going to make it 1920 by 1080. As I said before, I don't generally have these smart replays on, so you want to click that off. How long is your video going to be? Is it only 1 minute long, in which case it only needs to be 60 seconds duration? And then your frame rate. The average is 24. Some people have 25, some people have 30, some people have 60. I think the maximum that this goes up to is 60. Obviously 60 gives it a lot more kind of one-to-one realism movement, but most of the time, you know, people go for 24. That's up for you. You know what, standard is 24. That's what it's set to. So that's setting up your scene. And what else might you need to know? There is one thing I've forgotten. I have given this character a couple of mouth sets. What that means is at the moment its default mouth is its default like normal mouth. Again, the mouth isn't working because I've got everything turned off here. So I'm going to press Control and activate all the motion capture. Right, so at the moment this mouth is just a neutral. So it's a even keel neutral mouth. So testing 1, 2, 3. However, I might want, if the character is talking about something sad, I've got a sad mouth set. So all of these mouths currently are going from the neutral default, but the sad mouth set, everything is turned down. It's more, you know, sad expressions. And then I've got a happy mouth set, and that's a bit more shouty. You know, like his default mouth is really happy. So testing 1, 2, 3. So if you want any of these activated, all you got to do is either again press record and just make sure you got the trigger, only the trigger one selected. Where is it? Triggers. Press record and then select your happy mouth. Stop it and then drag that along for however long you want that happy mouth to be on. Or you can just, as I've shown you before, just right click and just put it in here. Also, one other thing I can show you, if you press Alt on your keyboard, you can cut these up. So you might want him to go from sad to happy. So I'm going to cut that into 2 things, but this one here, I'm going to make that happy. And that's also a useful tool for like your expression. So let's say we got the eyebrow lids. Let's put him smiley and drag that all the way along. But then I'm going to press Alt, and for example, I might want to put some blinks in manually. And then over here I might want him to go sad. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go blink 1, blink 2, and then we're going to go sad. If I press play, obviously that blink goes on a bit too long. But that's another thing to know how to do. It's a very useful tool when you're going along the timeline. But I think that's everything that you need to know. If I've missed anything out, feel free to either drop a comment below wherever this video is going to be posted, or contact me directly via email or Discord. But let's just say we've got everything made and you're happy with how it looks, and now you want to export it. What you got to do is, first of all, a couple of options. Do you want to just export the character, or do you want to export the whole scene? If you want to just export the character, make sure that all the scenery is turned off and it's only your character showing. And if you want your audio going out as well, then make sure that's turned on and isn't turned off. And then, quite simply, You go File, Export, and you got Quick Export, but I think that's only for video files. But if you want the alpha, and what that means is that the background is transparent, so you can take that file and overlay it onto other footage, which I'll show you more about that in a minute. So we either pick video with alpha for transparency, or if it's just a normal video file where we're going to have all the background added, we go File, Export, and we just pick video. Now you have got ping sequence, and that's where it exports every individual frame and the wave audio file, and then you can drag that into a video editor, or you might want to take some of them frames and use them in your thumbnails and whatnot. But and then you've also got dynamic link. Dynamic link is where you can use something like Adobe Premier or After Effects, and you can dynamic link from Character Animator into them programs, and then any changes that you make in Character Animator automatically updates to Premiere or After Effects. I'm not going to go into that now. You can very easily go onto YouTube and just put on dynamic link tutorial, and there'll be a video there that explains all that. I'm just concentrating on making a video with popcorn. So let's say I've made all this and I just want to export it. So I would just pick export via Adobe Media Encoder. So I'm going to select that, and then it's going to pop up in Adobe Media Encoder. And if you want to change, you know, like the file or whatnot, you can, you know, pick what you want here, your quality and your file name. But once you're happy with that, just select it, press play, and it'll render it out. Like I said, if it's just a video file, you can just go Quick Export, and it'll just come up here, and you just pick the highest quality, choose where you want it to go to, and then export. And it's as simple as that. And that is your character fully animated in Adobe Character Animator. But we're not finished yet, because at the moment we've animated Popcorn sitting in his seat, but he's talking about a film, and you might want to show some clips from the film. Now the one thing you can't do in Adobe Character Animator is video footage. You can't bring in video footage. Now I can bring in photos. So for example, let's just say in this section here I want to cut to a picture of, I don't know, like Rocky Balboa. Let's just pretend that this picture here is Rocky. You found the picture, you saved it to your computer, so we're going to import this picture. And then I'm going to drag that picture down here. And then in the timeline, I'm going to, if you want to cut it quickly, just select it and then press Control Shift and D, and that'll cut that thing there. And I'm going to resize that. Right, so pretend that's a picture of Rocky. So he's talking, and then it cuts to Rocky, then it goes back to him, and then cuts back to, you know, however. That's fine if you just got pictures. You can do that in Adobe Character Animator. However, if you want video footage, then we're going to have to add that in Adobe Premier. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. Right, what you're looking at here is my editing in Adobe Premiere. So I've made the animation in Character Animator, I've rendered it out, and I've brought it in. And then what I've done is I've gotten a couple of things. So first of all, you'll recognize this. All of these are what I've made. And then here I've got a graphic of a cinema. So this is what he's looking at. So what I'll do, I'll show you this in a new scene. So first of all, this is the character that I've made. Keep persisting. Actually, no. Change. Right. So this is him from the front. And then we want to see what he's looking at. So let's just put on my headphones so I can hear what's going on.
Woohoo!
Right, so for that scene there, I might want to see what he's looking at. So I go to File, I import any assets that I've made, so like that scenery and video files and whatnot. So this one here, I'm going to drag into the timeline. I'm going to press the plus icon on my keyboard to zoom in. And I've got this in the layer above that one. And if I go to effects, I'm just going to change that to the size I want. And then I want the logo for Doctor Strange. Where is it? I'm going to resize that. I'm going to put that there. And then I want that to be at the start, so I'm going to put that there. I'm shorten that down to here.
Woohoo!
And then I am going to hold my finger down on Alt and duplicate that. And then I've already made some video files. And let's say I want this scene here. So to pick what I want, first of all, to get this up here, you double click on that and that brings you up in the editing thing. I've normally got this icon over here. It's all the different layouts. I normally have it laid out for editing. Move this. And then we want source. So double click on the video file. And then you see these little icons here, that's mark in and mark out. So I want this section, so I'm going to go mark in here, and I want it to there. I'm going to mark out. Now, what you can do, you can either just take the audio, or you can just take the footage, or if you want the whole lot, you select the screen, and then you drag it over to there. Let's just move this down. Right, do I want that to be any bigger? If I do, I'm going to select these two little arrows here. And I'm going to go to Effects Control. Make sure I'm selected the layer that I want. And then I'm going to look for motion. So scale, make it bigger, make it smaller. And then this is your X and Y. So the one over to the right is your Y. Move that up and down. And that one is left and right. And it cuts back to him. Yep.
Or just cut it into two halves so it smashes into even more people.
And that's basically it. You know, if you've got popcorn reviewing a movie, I can send you these assets, and then you just drop in the video footage that you want, and then also you can bring in any kind of audio files for sound effects. So, you know, like in the one scene here, you can see him eating popcorn, and I'm sure, let's have a look. Yeah, we've got chomp. So again, the mark in, the mark out for this sound effect, and then I only want the audio file, so I'll bring the audio down, and I want that chomp sound to come when he's putting the food in his mouth. Let's have a listen. Zoom in a little bit. Move that along that way a bit. And that's it. Just like in Adobe Character Animator, it's just a case of layering it up, bringing in your video footage, bringing in any graphics that you have and just layering them over. You can bring in, if you want to bring in text, you just go up here to the top and you've got graphics and text. You go new layer, and we go text, and then we just select the little T type tool icon, type in what you want. So let's say popcorn reviewing Doctor Strange 2. And then again we're going to go over to effects control and look for the text and pick whatever kind of colors and font you want to pick. And then stretch out that timeline for however long you want it. There's a lot that you can do in Adobe Premiere. You know, if you want it to blend in or blend out, there's a million things that you can have it doing. I suggest anything like that, you just check out YouTube and just literally type in what you're looking for. So if you want it to blend in or blend out of a scene, for example, when this cinema screen comes on, we might want it to be dark to begin with. If you put that into YouTube, you're going to find tutorials which are normally a few minutes long, and they'll explain how to do it. Though in this instance, I will say if you look over to the right hand side of the screen and you see the video effects, you look down for, sorry, not video effects, video transitions, and then look for dissolve, and these are your fades in and out like dip to black. You just grab it and drop it in. Oh, I got white. Put the black one on. Make sure that's on everything. The best way to do it there is actually to bring in a rectangle. Make sure that that rectangle is black. Resize that down, get rid of that one, press delete, dissolve, and there you go. Like I said, there's a million things that you can do in Adobe Premiere. Anything you need to learn, you can find it on YouTube, but feel free to contact me and I can give you a hand if it's something precise that you want to know how to do. But what I use Adobe Premiere for, as you can see in my own timeline, is I just layer in all those cutscenes so that you can see what popcorn is reacting to. However, as I said, you might just want popcorn, it might only just be this. It might just be popcorn reviewing a movie and it's just him the whole time and you don't need to do any of this. Or you might just want one or two images, and I showed you how you can drop them in Adobe Character Animator, and you don't ever even need to come into Premiere or After Effects. But it is an option if that is what you want to do. The only other thing that I can show you is if you want to export live to YouTube Live or Facebook Live, this is how you do it. Right. Last of all, what you might want to do with this character is stream in real time. You might want to use it on Twitch, YouTube, whatever. So I'm going to give you a quick look at how you can do that. Right, so there's lots of different programs you can use, but one that is particularly popular is OBS. However, before we get to that, we've got to download something so that we can stream from Adobe Character Animator into OBS. You're going to need something called an NDI. So you're going to need to download that file. This is real quick. Just look up newtek.com/software/Adobe-creative-cloud. And then you're going to come up on this NewTek page. Basically, this is so that you can stream your character out to OBS. Just go to the bottom of the page and make sure you download it. And then once you've downloaded that, you're going to have to download OBS. And like I said, both of these are free. It's not going to cost you anything. So when you open up OBS, you're going to, first of all, I'm going to delete this just so I can show you how to get it on. This is what you're going to see when you open it up. You're going to look for sources and you're going to press this plus, video capture. Press OK. And then you're going to have a bunch of options here. You're going to have your webcam and anything else that might show up. But what you're going to want is NDI webcam video 1. However, if you click on that, at the moment, you're going to see my character pop up in a second. But it won't do that until you've done a couple of things first. In Adobe Character Animator, you're going to have to go to Preferences. And you're going to go to Live Output. And make sure you've got once you've installed your NDI, make sure you turn off Adobe Character Animator and turn it back on, and then you should see this option here, NDI output. Make sure you click it for video stream and put OK. Then what you got to make sure you do is in your NDI download, click on webcam, and that is going to make a little icon come up down here, and you need to click on that. And in video 1, you pick where it says like your Adobe Character Animator option will come up. So when you open it up in OBS, you pick NDI webcam video 1, OK, and you will have your character. At the moment, I've not got any background on, but I'd imagine if I was to add my background, so let's have a look. Where is it? Cinema, drop that in here. And if we go back to OBS, you see that that background is coming. However, the thing with OBS is that you can bring in different backgrounds and you can bring in video footage. I'm not going to give you a tutorial on all of that because there is lots and lots of videos out there showing you how to set up your characters and your video setup for OBS. The only thing I will say is that once you got everything set up, what you want to do is start streaming, and that's very simple. We go over to the right hand side of the screen and you just start setting up. So if we go to start streaming, you're going to have to find your stream key. So if that's Twitch or YouTube, you're going to need that information. So we go to settings and then we go to stream. You pick which one you want, YouTube or Twitch, and then follow the instructions. So it's going to tell you what to do. It's going to tell you to log into your account, and it's going to explain to you how to find your... Actually, I think you can just do it through that. Alternatively, use your stream key. But anyway, it will walk you through the process. And then, yes, you could have popcorn streaming in real time. So you could maybe add in video footage and have him talking about a film you're watching. But it is very simple to set up. The only thing I will say is that you've got to make sure, if you want to have, use all the triggers that Popcorn's got, is that you're going to have to make sure that you are clicked onto this. So, even if you've got it out down here, make sure you've got it clicked on, and maybe pull your control panel out, bring it up here. Actually, we've got Popcorn selected. And then, yeah, once you're streaming live, you'll be able to pick Popcorn. Whoop. Make sure you've got Popcorn selected. And then, as you can see, you can, pick everything that you need. And that's it. Move out of the way for a minute. I hope you found this very informative. I hope you see how relatively easy it is compared to other software. If you was animating something from scratch in Flash or Toon Boom Harmony, or if you was having to build a 3D model, that's a lot of skill you got to learn to animate in a timeline and all that malarkey. You know, it can take weeks, months to learn how to do that. But with this character here, just using the information that I've given you, you should be able to make really good, funny, whatever content you want quickly. Sit down, add in your mocap, layer in your expressions and your movements and your cameras, and then either export it from what you're creating here, or maybe add a few more bits and bobs in Premiere or After Effects, or use your character to stream in real time on Twitch or YouTube. If there's anything that you're stuck with, or that you don't understand, or if there's something you feel that I've missed out, sometimes there might be like one little thing I might potentially clicked on, but you wasn't sure how I did something and I didn't explain it, get in touch with me on Discord, or wherever you're looking at this video. Drop a comment below. I'll get a notification that a comment is being added, and I will get back to you ASAP. So yeah, bye.
Oh, DC is not having a great run lately. Shazam 2 suffers from the usual sequel issues of trying to go bigger, but really it just gets messier.
We will annihilate everything.
Lots of CGI battles which will probably entertain young audiences, but adults are going to be distracted by the numerous plot holes and gags that don't always provide the laughs.
I'm an idiot.
And why is grown-up Billy, aka Shazam, like a giant man baby when teenage Billy is a much more serious person? They're supposed to be the same person.
It doesn't matter.
This sequel is just okay. I'll give it 2 and a bit popcorns.